Mama, is God real?
Is marriage for life?
Do we have to be baptized?
Is drinking really wrong?
Well, that's your interpretation.
Where do I come from?
Do we really have to have authority for what we do?
Where is God when I need Him?
Rise up, O men of God. His kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and in the night of wrong.
Hello, friends, and welcome again to the Shield of Faith. My name is Wes Garland, and I'm the preacher at the Northwest Church of Christ in Clay County, Tennessee. And alongside with us, as always, we have Scott Gann.
Hey, Wes.
He's the preacher of the Philippi Church of Christ in Tompkinsville, Kentucky. We also have with us, as always, Eric Pickock.
Hey, Wes.
He is the preacher of the Gamaliel Church of Christ in Gamaliel, Kentucky. And friends, we hope and pray that for the next 30 minutes you will sit down and study with us, get out your Bible, paper, and pen, and study with us on the subject which is at hand, because today we are still on the subject of the home, but in relation to the parents. Now I want to ask you, being a parent, what do you think would be the worst thing that could ever happen between you and your child? Would it be basically losing all of their material things and maybe even their family? Would it be losing your child to death? Would it basically be losing your child in a car crash? Or what about basically having your son or daughter be going and living in a sinful life and never, ever repenting and coming back to God and dying in that condition? Guys, we need to take this very, very soberly. We need to see the responsibility of being a parent and what that actually holds with it. Because what God is doing right now, friends, is He is pleading for godly homes.
That's right.
And that's including the parents. The children will never be the children they need to be unless they have the parents they need to have.
That's where it starts at.
That's where it all starts at.
Right.
But
you know, we don't have kid problems like in the school systems and where I work. When they're young and at a certain age, I never say that we have children problems or kid problems. No. We always have parenting problems.
Yes,
exactly.
You know, I see many times when kids come to school with their shoes on, you know, the wrong feet, from that to, you know, having their pants on backwards, that like sweatpants or whatever. You know, the shirt, you know, hair not combed,
not having a jacket,
not having a jacket.
not
I've
being
seen
clothed
many
properly,
times
not bathed.
You're right.
You know, all these things.
All these things. I've seen kids, parents pull up to the buildings and get out with this huge coat on, and they send their kid out with shorts and a little T-shirt on. And I'm thinking, you know, you're probably going to go back home, knowing the parents are going to go back home and sit in your home, and this kid has got to, you know, function this way. You know, you get a kid come in and he's having stomach problems. You asked him, have you eaten? They say, no, you know, mom or dad didn't get up in time to fix me anything, or, you know, I didn't get here on time. All these, and I see actions being borne out in them from, you know, being ill, upset, mad, you know, and I look at the child, and then you understand where the problems are coming from. They're not coming from that child. They're coming from the parental guidance that they're lacking in.
They're just innocent.
Right.
They're innocent. They're innocent bystanders in something that is tragic, and having to raise themselves in many places.
Right.
You know, one of the big things out here, guys, and statistics show it. All the people, or a lot of the people that are in prison, in jails, and everything like that, is because they didn't have a father or a mother in the home. They didn't have the people guiding them. They guided themselves. They got with the wrong crowd. Guess what? The parents didn't correct them. They didn't teach them where they needed to go.
Well,
and that's what led it all into this.
We look at the end result, and we see children who make bad decisions.
Exactly.
And we see children who end up in bad situations. What causes that? Where did that stem from? What got them to the place that they're at? What gets them in? How do they end up in prison and on the street selling drugs? Becoming prostitutes. How is it they get to that point? They get to that point.
There had to be a starting point.
Through a series of bad decisions that probably, in many cases, not every case, was brought about by parents who were sorry, neglected their children, didn't fulfill the responsibilities, and now their children, you know, their children are following the same suit as their parents.
Right.
We live in a society where what we have is we have parents who go out here and they get hooked up on some type of government assistance program. Not that those are wrong, but they get hooked up on these government assisted programs, abusing the system, not in need of those things, but they're too sorry to work, they're too lazy, and they think they can just get a free ride, and they go get hooked up on all that stuff, and then they raise a generation of children that come up, and the next thing you know is you see 15. I talked with a fella not too long ago that works at the social worker place, wherever that's at, where people come in and apply for all this stuff, and he says he wouldn't believe that in today's culture, more and more and more people are coming, and they're getting younger by the day. It's no longer people that are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 that's coming in. He said they're starting when they're 15, 16, 17, 18. They're starting when they're still in high school applying for all this. And what they're doing is they're following the steps of their parents.
Right.
You know, whenever you think about the purpose of history, history is recorded for man to go back, study it, and look at the mistakes. To learn from those mistakes and never do them again. That's the whole purpose of history. But what we have in this nation is history continuing to repeat itself over over and over and never learning from it.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, and it's a digressive vicious cycle. You know, it is a vicious cycle, but it's not getting any better. It's
not.
digressing in its effort.
It's staying the same. It keeps on going down.
It's always going to be a cycle. But then you have certain things come into place, but we don't see things getting better. We see them getting worse. Progressively getting worse. And we want to step in with some of these biblical principles to help stem the tide of this digression, and maybe we can break that cycle, the vicious cycle that we're talking about today.
If we're ever going to transition this nation, and if we're ever going to turn the ship, to turn the sails, we're going to have to do it starting with the homes and the families.
Exactly.
And you know,
so goes the home. Also goes the nation.
That's right.
Goes the government.
That's right.
Goes the church.
Because homes are these foundations for these very institutions. You know, it starts within the home.
It's made up with the homes.
Right, absolutely. People come out of these homes that we're trying to help to take some of these biblical principles that we're looking at to restructure, rearrange, whatever we have to do to get back to the godly standard, because righteousness exalts the nation, but a sin is a reproach to any nation. And so what we understand is we've got to go back to the godly standard. And if we can instill righteousness in the homes, then the nation will take care of itself.
Yes, exactly. I think the big question we need to ask ourselves and also the audience out here, how much love do you really have for your child? Do you love him enough to correct him, to guide him, or is he just a live-in person in your home? What is it?
Sometimes people view their children as a mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not.
We've got a lot of people that are like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's sad. So what we need to do, just like what we've done throughout all the other lessons that we've done on the home, is say, okay, before you could ever do anything, you've got to get back to the standard.
Right.
If we want our nation,
that's our plea and appeal.
If we want our nation to be a good nation, to start getting in a better state, it's got to first come with the home, and the homes go by the standard.
Right.
Established on godly principles.
Exactly.
Right.
Genesis 2, man and woman.
That's right.
It's homosexual
right.
business.
It's out of the picture.
It's out of the
never
picture.
been in the picture.
It's never been in the picture.
It was in the picture one time, and 2 cities got burned up because of it.
Exactly.
And that's
God's
the
never
problem.
changed on that.
No.
Right.
God has never changed his mind on that.
And you know, we see a home is designed to be made up of a man and a woman, be raising their children, the father providing and protecting, the mother having her roles and responsibilities that she used to fulfill.
Right.
And they complement one another.
Right.
Exactly.
And there are certain responsibilities that God has given the man, and there are certain responsibilities that God has given the woman. It's not that He places any significance over one or the other, but both of them are important.
Well, the Scriptures teaches us that sometimes we see this situation as one the husband are domineering, they're dominant, they're the dictator of the house. But we have in Scripture that they're both equally joint heirs
That's right.
together with God. And so that should knock the pride out of a husband and knock the dictatorship out of his role, because that's not his role as God legislated it.
That's it.
And so we need to understand that parenting is a group effort. You know, we can't have as we looked at it,
100%.
we looked at the house that is divided cannot stand.
That's right.
You know, parenting is a joint effort on both behalves. You know, in Amos chapter 3 and verse 3, it says, how can two walk together unless they both agree? We understand that there has to be an agreement with the parents on how to rear the children. And if that's not an agreement, we need to back up and maybe relook at that situation. But they have to be in agreement before the things that we're about to look at can ever take place.
You know, children will look at their parents, and they will, when they get to the point in time where they're going to seek a mate, they're going to find an individual that's like their parent.
Right.
A daughter is going to learn what a husband should be like from a father.
Right.
And if you're a deadbeat, no good, sit at home daddy that don't do nothing, that doesn't fulfill his responsibilities, and that doesn't spend time with his daughter, that doesn't educate his daughter on what a man should be like,
Right.
that doesn't have any respect and honor for God and for other individuals, you're going to raise a daughter up that she's going to look for a deadbeat, lowlife, like her daddy.
That's right.
That's it.
And that's the vicious
Because
cycle.
that's all she knows. That's all she sees. That's her standard.
That's right.
And we're trying to get off that standard.
That's
of
right. And what she's
lifestyle.
going to do is she's going to go out and she's going to find a barfly. And if you go out and find a barfly, guess what you got? You got a barfly.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
That's
You
it.
know that.
And you can't make a barfly. It's hard to make a barfly into a butterfly.
That's right. You can't do it.
And you don't need to go into something thinking that's what you're going to do, because you ain't going to be able to do it more than likely.
Absolutely.
Statistics show you can't.
That's right. And
hard.
the same thing applies to a son. A mother needs to teach her boys what a good wife is.
Right.
That's it.
They need to see a virtuous woman.
Right.
They need to see a woman that is a keeper of her home. They need to see a woman that is exercising charge over her home, in the sense that that's what that word homemaker is. It's not that she is in charge, but that she is
ordering.
She has keeping order in the home. And so they need to see a mother that does that, that keeps order, that is respectful, that's honorable, that's virtuous, that loves and cherishes her husband, that treats her husband with respect. A boy needs to see that in his mother.
That's right.
And if he
sees that, that's more than likely what he's going to marry.
That's right.
It's the same with the person, the little girl that's got the deadbeat dad. She's going to seek after, because that is their standards.
That's right.
what they look to, and they want to. You know, they try to fulfill their lives in the lacking of the lives of their parents. You know, they see their parent, if he's a certain characteristic, that's what I'm going to look for. I don't understand it, because you would think that a child would say, I don't want somebody like my daddy. But that's not the case. That's not the way it is. It's the only life they know, and they find some form of comfortability in that situation, even though it's chaotic.
Yeah.
But you know that really does lead in to something real quick.
Okay.
Into the responsibilities
That's
of
right.
a parent.
Right.
That's right.
And that, I mean, what we've all been talking about is this first point, which we want to bring out there in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4. He says, Fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
right.
Don't overburden them to the extent in which more than what is required of them, lest they become angry and start rebelling.
That's right.
He says, but bring them up in the nurture or the training, in the admonition or the guidance of the Lord.
Or
Now
the
think about-
discipline.
Exactly, or the discipline, everything that's encompassing. If whatever God requires of a Christian to do, you train them up in that same way.
That's right.
Because this is what people need to understand, is If you want your child to be respectful to God, to see Him for who He is, you show them by your example
That's right.
how you need to
That's
be
right.
living.
That's right. You know, fathers, men need to train their young boys how to be men.
Right.
You know, they need to be manly.
Right.
They don't need to. A father doesn't need to train his boy how to be a sissy
Right.
Exactly.
and to be girly.
Exactly.
He needs to train him how to be a man.
That's right.
That's right.
And how to have the qualities, characteristics of a man. What are those? Everything in Scripture can be wrapped up in two principles: to provide and protect.
Right.
And that's what a father needs to be training his children: provide and protect. And I think this encompasses many different things as far as a father teaching his son to provide. You know, I have a son. I don't want to just teach my son how to just have an average life. I want to teach my son how to excel
Right.
in
Absolutely.
life. I don't want him to just be
Reach
mediocre.
this point and just
That's
stay.
right. I want to teach my son how to excel. You know, there are certain qualities that exist in individuals that are some of the most successful people. Not that success monetarily is what we're striving for, but there are qualities that reside in those types of people that I want to try to instill in my son. To be a person that can provide, to be a person that if the economy fails, if the economy just goes to shambles, that I've trained my son and equipped him with the capability of going out and providing.
Right.
And, you know, what I see today is I see people that I don't know what they've been trained at home to do because they can't do nothing. You know, they can't do nothing. They can't even hardly tie their shoes.
And it's a parent problem. It's a parent's
young
problem.
people.
It's a father problem.
That's right.
And it's a mother problem.
That's right.
If you're not training your children
You know, young
according to
people
the
don't,
standard.
you know, just basic things of life. They don't understand. They don't know how to do them. They don't know how to function. They know how to turn on an Apple computer, and that's about it. And we need to equip them
right.
with the capability to mow the grass. We need to equip them with the capability of
Showing them
working and
responsibility.
sweating
Exactly.
and doing things physically. You know, because they're going to have to do these things. You know, we need to equip them with the ability to change their oil or to do things. You know, instead of just being completely dependent upon everybody else.
Well, see,
And I think
that's the responsibility of parents. That when your child leaves your home, they can be able to be self-sufficient in every aspect.
That's
because
right.
guess what? They're going to be married. They've got to leave and cleave. They're going to be married, and then that is their home. And if we raise up a generation that has no skill set, has no work ethic, or has no discipline, and you could go on and on and on. And that's and it's the parents' responsibility. We're looking at the parents' responsibility today. And the parents' responsibility is when your child leaves your home, he can be able to stand. He or she can be able to stand on their own 2 feet, and they can function in society.
Yes.
They don't have to go to the restaurant and eat fast food every night because they don't know how to cook.
Right.
They don't have to pay for somebody to mow their yard because they understand how to do all these things, so they can be self-sufficient. But what we've got is like you said, we've got some people. We're raising children that don't know how to do anything.
Because of everything.
Or we're legislating or laying off on the school systems or somebody else. And when we lay off the responsibility on the school systems, then we're in wrong to begin with.
That's
because
right.
it's our job to train the children
That's right.
up in the way that
right.
they should go. And when, you know, the Bible teaches us in the book of Proverbs that we're to train a child up in the way that he should go, so when he's old, he will not depart from it. We have the principle there. We're to train them up that they will be able to work and be self-sufficient when they leave our home. They should have a job, and they should be able to function in, like you said, these two things, these two P's, to protect and provide. And we're not doing it.
That's
and,
right.
And also that we've got a group. I mean, we've always had discipline problems, you know, in the home.
Discipline needs to be instituted.
It needs to be implemented.
That's right.
I mean, we're in a society, guys, that are now punishing people for disciplining their child.
Right.
Right.
That's hogwash.
It
is.
is. It
That's
is.
all
It
that is.
surely is. It
Because
is.
basically what the state's trying to say is, listen, you cannot discipline your child and trying to say we know a better way. If you discipline your child, it leads to all this trouble in the person's life. Obviously, God didn't know that. Is the state basically saying that they know better than God?
Well,
Well,
a lot of
I
people-
think that our culture has said that they know more than God. I mean,
Yes.
they think they know more than God on marriage because now they allow homosexual marriage.
Exactly.
They think they know more
Exactly.
than they think they know more than God on drinking because they allow people to drink and cut loose and do whatever they want to in the streets. It's now you have people wanting to implement the legalization of drugs. People have always had a mindset
That
that
they know
they
better
think
than
they
God.
know more than God.
Right.
Same thing would apply in the realm of discipline. We just live, we live in a very liberal, wrongly liberal
Right. Absolutely.
culture that has morals that are loosed and rooted in humanism.
Right. Absolutely.
And
That's
and their God is their self and what their desires and what they want, and it has become distant from God.
That's right. I just want to go through a couple of verses here. Go to Proverbs 13 in verse number 24 here. Now this is why I asked this question at the beginning of this lesson, guys, is how much do you really love your child? Or even do you love him at all? Listen to this. In Proverbs 13 verse 24, he who spares his rod, talk about the rod of correction here, hates his son. But he who loves him disciplines him promptly or quickly or early, is what the scriptures actually say.
Don't wait.
Don't wait
Right.
about it.
Don't wait.
Because whenever a person waits on disciplining somebody, they forget about what they're being disciplined for.
Yeah.
right.
And that discipline process, we're not saying you got to beat them.
No.
What we're saying is some type of discipline needs to be instituted.
Exactly.
Whether
Whether it be
whatever
the rod of
whatever
correction,
method,
Exactly.
whether it be
That's right.
whatever it be. I tell you what, kids have too many things in their lives. They got computers, they got phones, they got all kinds of material items. Hey, you need to take if you go to them with a rod and that ain't doing, I say a rod. If you have to corporal punish them, discipline them with a paddle, or whatever you got to do. School systems, they used to be a paddle. They tried to get that out of there. But whatever you have to do, if it's not working, do something that works.
That's right.
Exactly.
Your main goal is to correct the actions.
Yeah.
It could be taking away.
If
It
what's-
could be taking somebody's
Exactly.
computer away from them. It could be grounding them. It could be a lot of different things. So the rod
Show
might
that
not
there are
necessarily
consequences for
Right.
them doing that.
And according to the Old Testament, the punishment met the crime.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And you did
Exactly.
not give just a little old slight tap on the wrist
Right.
to some type of something that was really wrong,
Right.
or
Yeah.
something that they had done that was just completely opposed to what you had taught them.
But I want to make another comment on the passage you just read, Wes, is because it says often or promptly is because I see too many people, and this is what happened. You tell your child no, you tell them no, they keep fussing, you get madder, and you get madder, and you get more aggravated and more angry because you don't take care of it before you get to that point, and then you just fly off the handle.
Yeah.
And you do something that you normally wouldn't done if you had taken care of it
Promptly.
promptly.
That's right.
I've seen so many people just get so mad at their kid after they told them 20 times. Well, you don't have to tell a child 20 times and then get so mad that you can't control yourself
Yeah.
when you do discipline.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why
it.
God says promptly.
Yeah, it was wrong the first time they didn't do it.
Right. And if
That's
it was-
when it ought to have been dealt with.
Right.
We need to deal with these things, and we got to be consistent on that.
Right.
Yes.
Kids can train themselves
Yes.
to understand that it takes me 20 times. It takes 20 times for Mama to tell me not to do something before actions happen.
right, 'cause
so they'll do it 19 times.
That's right.
And then you got a problem.
They're always going to push the limit. Because
Right.
that is the nature of a child.
Absolutely.
A child is meant to be trained. That's why the Lord gave that responsibility to the parents. We've got to train them. And that training process, it involves us incorporating in that discipline. Right. And when we tell them to do something, then they ought to know that that's what they ought to do. You know, we see kids today, they get misbehave in worship. You see parents, you know, telling you know, and causes a scene sometimes, or it causes distractions among other people. I tell you, the problem is that business ought to have been took care of in the home before they got to the assembly.
Right.
And and you could probably point out that you could probably just about mark down that they're probably not as strict or as disciplined as they should be in the home,
right?
Because they hadn't got that business took care of when they get there,
right?
And you know, I understand that sometimes, you know, children get a little bit ratty and they're young, and they're going to act like a 2-year-old's going to act like a 2-year-old.
Right.
Sometimes you're going to have to, you know, calm them down and things like that. But you know, we can tell. You know, you can tell when they have not been properly trained at home.
And this takes place early in a child's life. I mean, if you've got children that are, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever age, you know, you can't start this early.
That's right.
But there was an illustration that I thought, and it always stuck with me. A couple has a baby. They bring it home, and they take it into its room. They lay it down, and they leave the light on. And they do this 3 days in a row, 3 to 4 or 5 days in a row. But they always leave the light on when they take the baby in there to lay down in its crib or whatever. Okay, the 4th day or 5th day, they go in, they lay the baby down, they turn the light off. Now, that baby starts crying and screaming because it's been trained within 3 or 4 days that when it's laid down to take a nap, that the light's left on. So that shows you, and people would say, well, you can't do that. But that's a proven fact. Because something has changed. That's how impressionable young children are, and how
we train them at an early age.
We train them according to their ability to be trained.
That's right. You don't wait till they're 4 or 5 to teach them that you go worship on the Lord's Day.
Right.
You don't wait till they're 17 to teach them they don't need to be going out in public in bikinis and mixed swimming and going to the prom, and you don't wait till they're 17 to teach them that.
Right.
You don't wait till they're 25, getting ready to get married, to teach them they need to marry an eligible candidate, a Christian.
Right. Absolutely.
You implement these principles through stages of their life.
As they grow in their life, and as they can accept these, that's when you implement them.
That's right. See, there's a reason. There's a verse in which I want to go to right quick. Dealing with this, Ecclesiastes 8 in verse number 11. He says, because the sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Going back to that, promptly, what the Scripture says. Therefore, this is the reason, therefore the hearts of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
Right.
So that's why you need to be doing it properly. And notice this as well in Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 18. He says, chasten your son while there is hope, and do not set your heart on his destruction.
Right.
What's being brought about here is, listen, that child, God has given you that child into your hands to take care of him, to provide for him. Not only to provide him the physical things, but the spiritual things, the everyday life things, showing him how to live, how not to live, all these other things. Giving him what he needs.
That's right.
Right.
That's and being a protector of him.
Right.
That's being a parent.
That's right.
Now, let me ask you, are you being the parent that you need to be if you are a parent? I pray and hope that what we have said here today has helped you to bring about some things, because I promise you that if you'll take these things, which I'll put this on our website, you can go to our website, shieldoffaithtv.com, and find this lesson on there, that we can restore the home, guys, the way it needs to be.
Right.
But do you want it? Until next time, may God bless. Just think about it.